Hey, gang, there are so many important issues to discuss in today's political, cultural, and economic climate, and I can't discuss them all here. In fact, YouTube and big tech won't let me talk about it all here. And that's why I have exclusive, uncensored live streams on Monday nights to cover everything. On Monday nights, I share all my thoughts and answer your questions in an in-depth, casual format that prepares you for this upcoming election with the truth. Today, I want to show you a quick clip from a recent stream that I hope will help you think clearly about these important issues, as well as encourage you to join our movement. Join an upcoming exclusive live stream, and I'll answer your questions by clicking the link in the description below and joining our community of courageous patriots building a parallel economy. I look forward to seeing you over there.
I did want to touch on that hospital topic real quick, though. I know Biden, of all people, tomorrow is supposed to go and meet with the leaders of Palestine and Israel. They've canceled on him. Your thoughts on that? And to Ed's question here, how do we use this Israel situation for our benefit? Is that even possible?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I do. Let me go. I'll do that in order. So I think Biden's desperate. He sees his polls collapsing. He sees his polls absolutely falling apart. He's in the 20s now in most of the major 20s or low 30s in virtually every one of the major issues that voters care about. I mean, he's getting clobbered by nearly 30 points by Trump on some of these issues. I mean, they see he's hemorrhaging political life. I mean, he's dying politically. Some would say he's politically dead. If the election were held today, Trump would win in a blowout. I don't think they could muster anywhere near the shenanigans needed to help Biden. Think of all the shenanigans they pulled in 2020, and in the end, they only won by 40,000 votes. 10,000 in Arizona, 10,000 Georgia, 20,000 in Wisconsin. They only won by 40,000 votes with all those shenanigans. So I don't think there's enough shenanigans to be able to beat Trump. So they're desperate. They're trying to change the narrative. They're trying to show Joe's in control of the world that's falling apart because he's relying on globalist institutions that nobody listens to anymore, unlike Trump. So hence why we had peace. So I think he's desperate. I think he's just trying to get a photo op. He knows he's not going to be able to do anything there. And I think he's trying to assuage Jewish sympathetic vote that took a very hard second look at the Democratic Party. So that's what leads to your second question. There is a civil war going on in the Democratic Party right now. It's very real. Now, I don't know if it's real enough to, assuage ADL, Alliance Defamation League like sympathetic voters to vote Republican. I don't know, but they are extremely shocked at the level of pro-Hamas support within the Democratic Party. I think they're shocked by it. I don't think they recognized it. I knew it. We all knew it. How many Palestinian flags do the Squad girls have to be flying in front of their offices? Again, when victimhood is the key concept to your politics, so you always side on the side of the victim, and the victim is allowed to be violent because violence is a cry for help, hence defund the police. Criminals cry for help. They're not criminals. They need your help. Police are the oppressors. So if that is your insane mentality, if that's your insane lunatic mentality, and the only way Jews and pro-Palestinians held their political coalition of the left together in the West was through a shared identity of victimhood. And now if each side sees the other as a villain, no longer a victim, then the coalition falls apart. So I do think that a very vigorous pro-Israeli stance has the potential power of not necessarily bringing them over to our side, but certainly putting tremendous pressure on the left-wing coalition, and certainly pressing on a very, very soft spot right now. It's very, I mean, when you saw the president of the ADL look at his fellow leftists on MSNBC and accuse them of having Hamas write their scripts, I mean, that you could hear a pin drop when he looked in the eye, and you could see he was livid. How dare you push pro-Hamas talking points? And of course, MSNBC and CNN have been trying to give balance to both sides. Interesting, isn't it? So they'll give more balance to Hamas than they will to J6 Patriots, right? So interesting stuff there. Tells you again where they're coming from. Tells you how much terrorists they think we are. I think a vigorous pro-Israeli side, which is what Trump is doing. Certainly all the other miscreant GOP candidates, all the single-digit support candidates are all trying their best to do. Mike Pence walking around with his Israel pin all the time, but of course, what makes Trump magical is he turns around and says, "This is exactly why we have to close our border. This is exactly why we need border security." So he brings it full circle to something that the other candidates are incredibly weak on. They're more concerned about a border 10,000 miles away than they are about what's happening on our southern border. So I think pressing on the soft spot of the Israeli-Hamas tension within the left would be, I don't want to exploit tragedy and horror, no question. But if we are talking about being politically savvy in all of this, that's what I think we should do.
Great question, Ed. This is from Caleb D. Brock. I'm going to summarize this real quick. Mm-hmm. As we've talked about, he's at a loss for how to respond to what's going on. Should we advocate for the complete and total annihilation and removal of the Palestinians from earth, or should we extend the love and grace of Jesus Christ on the cross to all? The latter is what Iran wants. However, the military-industrial complex is advocating the formal. How are we personally to respond, and how should we respond politically and military? You already kind of talked about politically and militarily, but what about that personal element, and how does that tie into the gospel?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. It's a very, very good question, and nationalist sentiments do complicate things. I forget who it was. I think it was during the 19th century Japan-Russian War, and the Russian missionary, Orthodox missionary, was asked by Japanese Christians, "What do we do?" And he said something absolutely fascinating. He said, "You fight for Japan. We're brothers, but your physical family needs you, and I may have to go and fight for Russia." This is part of the tragedy of the human experience of Cain and Abel. We can be united to Christ and yet still find ourselves on opposite sides of the national aisle, given the obligations we have to protect our neighbors. So if we're called to protect our neighbor, and that's what I think military obligation ultimately is. That's why I despise foreign wars. I think classically, military obligation is the protection of one's family, one's neighbor, one's community. And if you're in a fight with someone who is trying to hurt your neighbor, particularly an elderly neighbor, who, say, a female elderly neighbor who can't defend herself, and they're actually trying to hurt her, it is your duty to come to her aid. That's why we're placed in space. Our spatialization provides the foundation for our moral duties. It's, again, what makes globalism so horrible is it disembeds and dislodges us from any spatial loyalties whatsoever, so we don't give a flip about our neighbors.
But first, gang, many of you have been kind enough to notice I've lost a couple of pounds of late, and it's true. I've lost over 60 pounds. Gang, that's right. I've tried everything under the sun to lose weight. Nothing worked until I discovered the fantastic nutrition coaching of PhD Weight Loss. PhD Weight Loss is a 100% over-the-phone nutrition behavior coaching program that I simply could not possibly recommend enough. I was able to eat delicious meals all the while reaching my weight loss goals in record time, and frankly, it was one of the easiest things I ever did. They completely take out all the guesswork behind what, when, and how much to eat. They make the process painless, simple, and as easy as possible. Dr. Ashley Lucas has helped thousands achieve their health goals over the last 15 years. And the best part about PhD is that once you hit your goal weight, your maintenance support is free. So when you need that little adjustment to help get rid of those pesky pounds coming back, you got nothing to worry about. They've got your back. Make sure to click on that link below and join myself as well as thousands of other patriots who are taking back control of our health. We know the demons at Davos want us docile and unhealthy so as to remain complacent against their agenda, but your health goals are very much in reach. Speak to the very people who helped me become my healthiest self by clicking on that link below right now.
Historically, that's insane. Historically, that's just beyond any comprehension. So we're called to love our neighbor and protect them. I don't see pacifism as a tenable Christian position because of the horror that it can unleash upon the innocent. Since we would just sit back and pray for our neighbors who are only, in this case, our enemies, who are trying to hurt ours. So I do believe there is the ability to reconcile the love for one's neighbor and the defense of one's neighbor. But that's where spatialization comes in. So what the monk was saying, in effect, was, we are brothers. We are Christians. We love one another, but we are also citizens, and we are members of communities that we are called spatially to defend. We're called to defend them, and that might bring us into conflict. And we just pray that God's cross covers our sins and draws us into paradise, where all conflict finally is resolved and dies. So it's complicated. It's not simple, but I think, again, it gets resolved in the spatialization of human life. So with that, practically speaking, we can't do that. So that's why I brought in, I think it's that third and fourth level of analysis. It's just, practically speaking, the world won't allow that. They won't allow Israel to annihilate. Well, and already, I know some people don't buy the distinction, but Israel has made a distinction between Hamas and Palestinians. Some people don't buy the distinction because Palestinians are the ones that are putting Hamas into power. But regardless, I think they've tempered their language to saying we want to wipe out Hamas, not the Palestinians. So that's not going to happen, I think, from even an Israeli perspective. But keep in mind, for the not so much the West, but more but even the West, because you've got the pro-Hamas side on the left. That's the interesting dynamic here. But for the rest, the 85% of the world, they are sympathetic to the Palestinians, not because they have the victim mentality, but because, and again, for right or for wrong, this is descriptive, not prescriptive. This is the way the world is seeing things right now. So we just have to remember the Stockdale principle. You have to have a very sober assessment of what is a soberly realistic assessment of what's actually happening in the world. They see Israel as just a proxy for the United States and the United States State Department in particular, and its power and its influence in the region. And so they tend to be more pro-Islamic because they see that force as the legitimate spatial force in that region. Spatial, SPATIAL, the force it's the force that is reclaiming the region that is theirs. That is their space. It's not American space, and America exercises it through the proxy, exercises its power and influence through the proxy of Israel. So again, those are part of the multipolar geopolitical dynamics that are playing out. They're not. Israel has to be very careful here, because already I think we're seeing the world turn again. Russia, China, India have already made, of course, obviously Turkey, the Islamic world, are already making public statements now that Israel needs to calm down. They've gone too far. So there's going to be tremendous international pressure put to bear on Israel, and that always happens. That's exactly what always happens. Is Hamas hits? They hit hard. They hit shockingly. Israel responds, and the world goes, "Oh, come on now, stop! You now you're just beating up on them. Leave them alone. Try to work it out. Two-state solution." So that for right or for wrong, those are the dynamics of what happened.
I think the challenge that I have is, it seems historically, and I think this would be Ben Shapiro's argument, so I guess I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate here, but that it is absolutely irrational to try to rationalize with terrorists. So is it possible to negotiate something with Hamas?
Yeah, no, granted. That may indeed be the case. But again, the rest of the world is part of the advocacy here. Yeah. So it's not just Hamas. It's not like we can just isolate Hamas. The battle between a unipolar world and a multipolar world, for many people, for right or for wrong, actually flows right through Jerusalem, because they see, for right or for wrong, Israel as a proxy for United States unipolarity in the world. Now, I think that unipolarity is dead. I even think Israel admits it's dead, because Israel's gone more or less theocratic at this point in its politics. Up until this point, Benjamin Netanyahu and bumbling Biden have been knocking heads against each other. Biden and the Democrats hate Israel in terms of the way they've abandoned liberalism and are now more embracing retraditionalization. To their credit, they're one of the few Western nations, right? Nations with Western liberal influence that is going through a demographic surge right now. I think they're averaging 3 kids per couple, which is a huge. I mean, that's 3 times what some European nations are doing with fertility. But that happens when you start embracing just like we're seeing in India now, that just rejected same-sex marriage today. The Supreme Court just rejected same-sex marriage. What we're seeing in so many parts of the world where they're retrading, they are going through a demographic springtide, a demographic explosion, and Israel sees that as a good thing. So they're embracing a retraditionalist life. So I don't see Israel as a proxy for the United States. That's where I get off the train with some of my multipolar buddies. So I am multipolar. Obviously, I'm seeing a multipolar world, very traditionalist, conservative world coming in. But they continue to see Israel as just a puppet of the United States. I don't think that. I think they're kind of on their own in many respects, and so they're responding in kind. Got it. I am very sympathetic to. What I got nervous with Ben Shapiro is he was talking, well, we're going to need to help him at some, he was saying, if we don't help him, it's going to be World War III. We're going to need to get involved here. And I'm like, and same with Mark Levin. And I'm like, guys, we can support without getting involved. Right. There's a big difference between those two. And I think we need to hold on to that difference. And so his rhetoric just seemed to move in the direction of, just kind of this, ironically, almost an irrationality on his part. You can't negotiate with terrorists. Terrorists, by definition, are irrational. Well, you granted, but you're going to have to negotiate with the world, and the world, 85% of the world believes that there is some semblance of plausible negotiations with the Palestinians. We'll have to find how it plays out.
I hope you enjoyed that clip of my Monday night Insiders Club live stream. Join us live next week by clicking on the link in the description below and joining the coalition of patriots worldwide building a parallel economy to return to our roots of faith, family, and freedom. Click below right now.